guys, welcome back to week 4 of the chicken salad sew along. We're using the pattern from Lori Holt's chicken salad quilt. This is copyright 2022 by Riley Blake Designs. We're working on Cornelius this week. I'll put a picture of him in here. I am using Lori Holt fabric that I have. I have a little bit of the cookbook fabric, like 1 layer cake worth of it. And I'm using as much as I can of that for this quilt, but that'll be in my chicken blocks, and anything that's left over will go into the areas that go around the blocks themselves. And this week we're going to be working on block 4. Now I've already picked out my fabrics and written down my measurements so that I know how much of each fabric that I need. And the way I'm doing mine is I am applying heat and bond to the back of my fabric and then cutting it out using the templates. Cornelius goes to the right, so it is cut this way, okay? But when you put these on the back of your heat and bond, let's get a piece of heat and bond here so that we can play with it and draw on it. I'm using my rotary cutter to do this, my Martelli rotary cutter that I happen to love. And I've got my fabrics picked out for this particular one. Now, the pieces that we need to cut out of this, I'm going to bring you down here to my table so you can see what I'm doing, is we have I've cut his body, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that out for me. So that's out of the way. And then I need a 3.5 by 4 piece of material for piece number M12, which is the next one that I'm doing. I'm going to draw M12 onto the back of my heat and bond, and I need to reverse it because whenever I put the fabric on here, I want the fabric to be right side up. So I need to reverse the template while I'm drawing it on here. And I'm leaving myself just a tiny little bit of room around each of these pieces so that I can adhere the fabric to the back of this. And my fingers out of the way. Notice that I did that. And then all my template pieces are sitting over here to the side. I'm going to take the yellow that I've chosen for Cornelius's head, which is what this is. And I'm going to put it on here and try to keep it on the straight of grain. And then take my iron and just put it on the back here. I want to make sure that that heat and bond is down there well. And then I have my regular scissors. I'm going to cut the entire piece of heat and bond off this fabric because I don't want my fabric to have a bunch of heat and bond stuck to the fabric itself. Put that one aside. I'm not going to use that for anything else in this quilt. And I'm just cutting out this piece. Now, since I'm only doing one block at a time, I'm just setting the template in with the block. Excuse me. But if I were doing multiple blocks, for instance, if I wanted to cut out all 12 of my chickens before I started putting anybody together, I would write on the back of each of these. And I have written on the back of them in the past, but Somebody asked me why I was doing that, and I thought, well, you know, that's a legitimate question. Because I don't necessarily need to write on it as I go. However, if there's any chance that you may have to come back to it, you may want to go ahead and write on the paper and put what the piece number is and what chicken it goes to. I'm going to actually put my piece right there with it and stack it up over out of my way. Now this piece, I might be able to use this for beaks or something. So I'll go ahead and hang on to that. And I'm getting to the beaks very quickly, so that's something to keep in mind. So that's M12 cut out of red. I need 2 beaks and 2 feet. So maybe I'll go ahead and do Cornelius's beak out of this one. You'll note that I'm just drawing them. I might be able to get the baby chicks out of here too. And I'm not going to cut those out until I get closer to ready to put my block together because I don't want to lose that. I still need to do feet, so that part I don't need to work with. Okay, so this blue is for the wing on Cornelius, and the wing is number M13. This is M13. We're going to reverse it, and then we're going to draw on the back of our heat and bond here. Try to keep it where you guys can see it on the camera. That'll go right there. I'm just using a pen here. You can use anything you want to trace, but I find that a regular ink pen works really well on heat and bond. And since I'm writing on the paper, it's not going to get transferred onto anything that actually will show. Trimming out around it, I'm leaving a little room so that I have room to trim this down. Yeah, I'm just whipping my way through it with the scissors, sorry. This is the fabric that I've chosen for his wing. I'm gonna put it on the back of this. Again, I wanna try to keep the wing on grain, and I'm just gonna iron this down. You don't have to put it on for a long time. I like to put it on for maybe 5 seconds or so. And then I'm gonna let it cool before I try to cut this off. And again, I'm gonna cut the fabric off of the actual layer cake and make sure I get all that heat and bond. And that goes over out of my way. This is pretty much all cooled here. So let's cut it out. Some of you have seen me do this a couple times. I won't be offended if you fast forward through it. I'm doing it because I got a specific question from someone. So I'm trying to show it a little closer on camera for that person. And I hope this is working for you. When I get down there, I'm not going to worry in those little center sections. Because there's heat and bond on the back of it, if I snip a little bit into that little cleavage down there, as Lori Hill calls it, I'm not going to sweat it because the heat and bond will make it attached to everything. Okay, so the next piece that we're going to do is M23. This is the wing for the chick. And the instructions say to do this reversed. So I've already drawn this on here. And since I need to reverse the pieces to put on the heat and bond, what I did is I turned it right side up and traced it out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out. If you hear anything in the background, I apologize. We do have a farm. Hubby is outside moving the tractor around because he's got things he has to do on the farm itself today. So I don't think you should hear it, but he's moving all those chickies into their new house. All right, and then give me just a second to finish this up. The next two pieces are M4 and M1. I'm putting them both on my heat and bond reversed because they're supposed to be right side up whenever they're done. And they're supposed to be red. I am labeling them. They're going to be the exact same color. So I'll put them a little bit closer than I normally would. Let's cut this down to size so it can go on our fabric. And the fabric that they go on is this right here. So let's put this on here. Right here at kind of the corner of the 10 by 10 inch piece of fabric. Again, we're going to let it cool down a little bit before we do anything to it. It's definitely before we trim. And it cools down pretty quick because you only put the iron on there for 2 to 5 seconds. Or whatever your particular version of heat and bond says it's supposed to do. So they're completely cool. I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. And you notice I've switched to my embroidery scissors. With the smaller things, you need to cut them out with a smaller pair of scissors. And as I've noted before when we do these, you move the fabric more than you move the scissors. Okay. So as I've noted before, you move the fabric more than you move the scissors whenever you cut these out. And that's one piece. Here's the wattle. Just cutting them out, just moving it gently. Remember, I have issues with my hands, so anything that lets me do this easily is a huge benefit to me. That piece isn't usable for anything else. Once again, I'm going to put my template piece on top of my fabric piece, and I am still writing the number on the back. I probably shouldn't be, but that's okay. I will deal with it. All right. And then we're down to this last piece. I don't really have enough heat and bond left here to be able to cut that out. So I'm going to get another little piece of heat and bond. I just need enough to do that wing. Let's cut us a little piece of heat and bond out. I'm pretty frugal. I won't throw those little scraps away. I will save them because I may need them somewhere else in all of this. And so now I've got the paper side up. I have my M14 template. I'm going to flip it over so that it is reversed and put it on the heat and bond and draw it on. And like I said, I know I've done this once for you guys on camera, but I had someone ask specifically for me to do it this way. So I'm trying to be as close as possible for you. And that's M14. And the fabric that M14 is going on is right here. So I'm going to put my heat and bond on the back of my fabric using my iron. And you can do this a couple of different ways. If you know that you need, like M14 is 3 by 4 1/4, you can cut out a 3 by 4 1/4 piece of fabric and a 3 by 4 1/4 piece of heat and bond and do it that way. And just iron those together before you trace. This just works for me. How my brain works. Everybody's brain does things differently. So do it how it works for you. So I know I've got my feet and my beaks. This is M14. And then I'm gonna cut this out. Bigger scissors again. Still moving the fabric more than I move the scissors. I like these because I can just squeeze a little bit and because I can use my whole hand rather than my fingers. But with those little bitty pieces, you sometimes need a slightly different look or a slightly different tool. Use what works for your hands. Accommodate yourself when you do this. My left hand goes numb easily. Matter of fact, it's mostly numb right now. So make sure that you do what works for you. All right, so there's that. I need to check and make sure that I have everything cut. So we just did M14, so that's finished. And we did M4, that's red. We did M1, that's red. We did M23. And I've got my 2 feet. So they're already crossed off. I have M13. I have my beaks. I have M12. And I have M25. Okay. I think I'm missing a check. So let me find my check. Again, I am going into my cut list that Becky at Power Tools with Thread had listed. I have M1, I have M4, I have M12, M13, M14, and then 1, 2, 3. Over here. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. That's where I'm supposed to be. So I did M23, M25. All right, let's put it together and see what we've got. I still think I'm missing a check, but let's put it together and see if I'm right or wrong. If I'm right, then we'll go ahead and cut a check, and if I'm wrong, then I'll find my piece and my brain will be better. Okay, so now we're going to put together the block. I'm going to take my iron and I'm going to iron my muslin. Just giving it a quick press to get the worst of the wrinkles out here. And then we're going to fold it in half. And in half again. I don't know where this piece came from because it's not even, but I'm going to use it anyway. I'm just going to give it a quick press so that I get that crisscross in there. I've said it before, don't saw back and forth. You're basically just wanting to get a press. I've got my iron on high and I'm not using any liquid or steam. All right. So here is the center of my block. And then I'm going to pull up my picture of Cornelius that I have saved on my phone so that I can look at Cornelius while I'm putting this block together. I want this to be completely cool because I've already peeled the paper off of a few of these pieces. And I don't want it to stick until I have everything where I want it. So here's Cornelius, and he is going the right direction, which is good. And then we need the yellow for Cornelius's head, which is right here. I'm stacking my templates on one side of me just so they're out of the way. And then I'm going to peel my heat and bond paper off the back. And when you peel it, the shiny should stay. So the back of that is shiny. That's the glue that's going to hold everything down. I'm going to move you down just a little more. Okay. And then there's his head. And his head is supposed to go just like that. So it looks like he's all kind of one piece. And then we're going to give him a beak. I have to cut his beak out. I didn't do that. And he's a rooster, so his mouth is big and wide open. They're always making noise as far as I'm concerned. Our rooster here at the house is always loud and noisy. So I want him to have a big old mouth. Peeling the paper off, sliding his mouth in underneath. I did make his mouth out of the same fabric as the rest of him. But I'm okay with that. I'm going to put his little plume for the back of his tail on it. Mostly because I want to make sure that I have plenty of room in here for that. You may need to move over a little bit. Usually do the bigger pieces first and then smaller ones, but depends on how I'm feeling that day. I need to move him over even further because I've still got to put a baby chick behind him. And this is literally how you do this, is you put it on, you say, okay, this is good, this might not be so great. So that's how we do it. and you're looking to lay this out so that it makes you happy. Lori Holt's got her suggestions in hers, and I've got my suggestions on how I think things should be done. And then there's everything else. How do you want to do it? What should it look like for you? Because the fun of these quilts is seeing how people put it together, what fabrics they used. And I've seen quite a few of these done with scrap fabric, even scrap fabric that's not from Lori Holt. All right, and Mr. Cornelius's comb is kind of Elvis-y looking to me there. Yep, I'm missing a check. So I'm going to have to cut a check. Let's get this all put together and then I'll get my check. Let's see, his little wing kind of goes up underneath here. Kind of a little bit cocky. And then I'm going to put his feet on. And I don't know if you guys noticed on last week's block, it was interesting because the feet didn't sew down or didn't glue down very well. So I sewed them down thoroughly. I'm not quite sure why his feet didn't sew down. Okay, and he's got some gnarly looking feet. Give his little toes a trim. He doesn't need big old toes. Okay, so I am going to put my iron on this and get all this glued down, and then I will cut a chick and I'll be right back. So here's how we do the iron. I'm going to start up here and I'm just setting it flat down. I am not moving my iron. The reason I'm not moving my iron is because I want everything to glue in place and I don't want it to shift around. I've got the pieces where I want them. And I want everything to stay where I put it. And remember, this piece of muslin that's underneath here is my background. I know it's a little crooked and it's a little big, but I'm going to trim all of these down to 12.5. So I want to have plenty of room for moving things around. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to pause for just a minute and get a piece for my chicken and get that cut out, and I will be right back to show you how to apply it. Okay, so yes, I was missing a baby chick. I had to go get that piece and cut it out. And I made a decision while I was cutting out my chickie. I decided that I wanted him to be turned the other way. And I wanted him to be turned the other way because I kind of wanted him to be acting like he was bigger than he is. Oh, I'm helping out the big rooster guy. So I've tilted his little beak up so it looks like he's crowing at the same time as Cornelius is. And then I've put his wing on him. And I changed his wing from a yellow, because they had yellow on yellow, to a blue, because I want it to show more. And then set my iron right down on top of him and get it all ironed down. And then I'm just going to take and quickly press over everybody else so it will all stay down there. I usually try to give 24 hours between these blocks and taking them into applique. I may put this one up a little bit sooner, but somehow I doubt it. I neglected to peel the paper. That's why the little chickie isn't sitting down there. So let's get him put back down. Not really putting pressure on it, just a little dab. All right. And would you guys like to see Cornelius? The applique video for him will go up on Wednesday. Again, another viewer request. Someone wants me to show the applique in great detail. That takes a bit of time to record, and all of you may not want to see that. So I'm going to do that as a separate video, and it will go up Wednesday. And I'll show you the applique and the embroidery. And hopefully you can see him. I think Cornelius turned out pretty cute. And stay tuned for the applique block on Wednesday. And then block 5 comes out next Monday. So you guys have a great week. Thank you for watching. And I appreciate it. If you like this content, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this video. Thank you.